we're talking hormones and sex. With us now is sexologist and author of The Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay, Techniques and Strategies for Mind-Blowing Sex. Dr. Jess O'Reilly, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Jess.
So hey, when it comes to sex, is it just hormones?
Well, it's not just hormones. Of course, hormones, they play a role, but other factors like your relationship health, your mental health, feelings around sex, those things matter too. So even if you balance your hormones, it won't address years of relationship resentment, exhaustion, anxiety, or, a baby crying in the next room. So absolutely do go look into your hormones, check with your healthcare practitioner, but also look to relationship and lifestyle factors if you're experiencing low sexual desire. And I think it's really important to note that we can't let anyone else tell us what we should want. So if, for example, you have low interest in sex and it doesn't bother you and it isn't interfering in your relationships, you don't have to jump to action and try and find a solution, whether that be hormonal or lifestyle. But if you find something distressing, absolutely get your hormones checked, but also check your overall health, your relationship health, your sleep, your diet, and your relationship with sex itself.
Well, I want to hear about the Barry White hormone, oxytocin. I feel love coming on.
I love that you call it.
So we have to pick your brain here. Doc, how does that come into play with sex? We're hearing more and more about oxytocin.
We do have evidence suggesting that oxytocin plays a role in bonding, in empathy, in attachment, and oxytocin levels can actually increase during arousal. And I actually recently read a study that higher oxytocin levels that they administered through a nasal spray were actually positively correlated with more intense orgasms and feeling more satisfied after sex. So this is why I guess it's the Barry White hormone.
Well, Dr. Jess, I feel like we're kind of burying the lead here. I mean, we look at the title of your book, strategies for mind-blowing sex. Is there a formula for mind-blowing sex? I mean, what are the components here to get us to that level?
So I think it varies from person to person, but if I had to pick some universal paths, it would be open communication and really self-reflection. A lot of what holds us back when it comes to sex has to do with our own sexual values and some of the things that maybe we haven't addressed. Most of us look to outside sources to explain our problems, right? So we look to our partners, for example, as a source of deficit, but ultimately it often has to do with our own feelings and perhaps things that we need to work through.
So the question becomes whether or not stress actually can have a real impact on our hormones and thus have an impact on our sex drive.
Yeah, absolutely. So stress enacts the fight or flight response and elevated levels of cortisol, which for most of us is the opposite of the tend and befriend response that we associate with oxytocin. So sometimes you'll hear that oxytocin and cortisol are kind of opposites. But more importantly, here's the thing. For many people, stress squashes sex drive altogether. They lose all interest in sex. And some people are probably sitting there saying, yeah, that's me. When I'm stressed, I'm not in the mood. But here's the thing. Your partner may have a different response. Some people, other people, albeit likely a smaller percentage, respond to stress with a higher desire for sex because sex can also be a source of stress release. And this situation in which one partner loses interest during a stressful time and the other person's interest ramps up can result in this desire chasm or dueling libidos or sex drives. But, here's the thing. The desire for sex isn't just what happens spontaneously. It's also something that we can cultivate.
Well, you're right on there. True confessions. I'm stressed out. I want sex, whereas my wife is stressed out. She's not going to go there. So I'm going to have to work on that.